There's that kind of open space, like, do you know what I mean? You know, that open space that is, you know, kind of like, you know, a white light.
Like a big sense of open space that you couldn't quite grasp onto or something.
It's not positive nor negative. You know, it's just, it's the unknown. Do you know? It is the unknown.
Adoption is based on loss. And I realise that now. For us, I think the loss is not acknowledged, you know. Society doesn't allow you to grieve. Like the inner pain and despair in the months after was absolutely massive.
I think it is a stronger feeling in me that I was taken from her, and certainly from talking to her, she could have never have done it again.
I wanted to know that she was well cared for and protected, and that I thought that I was doing the best for her.
It was horrible. It's a horrible choice.
I felt that my child had been legally stolen, more or less. You know, I mean, I'd come forward and before my child was born and said that I'll bring up the child, and my mother did, and my sister did.
Birth mothers and fathers were told that the child would have a better life, and I think well, in my own circumstances, that a religion played a huge part too.
The head of the adoption agency, who was a Catholic priest, I said to him, look, just please put my name on the child's birth certificate. He said, that won't happen. I said, well, why not? I am the father. And he said, sure, everyone knows you're the father. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking to you. But for the legal purposes of this adoption, your name is not going to go on there. So, you know, it was like they were playing a game with me.
It was like I had to shut down, you know, to make this decision. And I thought I was doing the best.
The more I wrote, then the letters became the sort of their stock reply. Thank you very much for your letter. In other words, we're not going to tell you anything. Again, it made me feel invisible. I didn't know the date of birth either. They wouldn't give me the date of birth because they knew. I mean, my last words to that guy is, I'll find a way.
Listening to you now is that here our children are growing up really unaware that their parents may have this despair, you know?
Yeah, of course.
You didn't know the circumstances, and you didn't know, like, if I did go searching for her, would she want to know me, or, you know, would we have that connection, or would we, or where she was, or whether she was alive, or whether she had died, or where she was in the world. Yeah. I would always look at women on the street and anyone that looked like me, and, you know, that could be my mother, and you know, wondering then, you know, is that my mother, and have I met her and not even known it's her, or, you know, does this do I feel that sense of connection with this person who would just be on the street, or, you know, that kind of, looking for that.
I'd just like to know what, like what my family looks like. Do you know, that's, you know, does my mother have dark hair? You know, these kind of things, like, you know. Yeah, you know, because I mean, sometimes you're walking on a street, you know, say, God, could that person be? Do you know?
Yeah, we thought on that. Yeah.
You know, that is, you know.
Like I used to see, and I would wonder, you know, is she a student there? What does she look like? What does she look like? You know, Patrick Street, or yeah. Kind of searching.
But
You know, it was friends trying to comfort you and say, "Oh, bro, you're probably better off. You know, he could be a gangster, or he could be a bad heroin addict or something." And I used to say, "Yeah, but okay, if he's a bad heroin addict and he's in prison and, you know, all these sort of nightmare scenarios that people would sort of put this. They said, well, he's my heroin addict, so he probably needs me more than if he wasn't, you know.
It's like, you know, asking what would I say to, you know, my mother if I met her. You know, I don't know. Again, for me, the sense is that there will be silence there until that space is filled with sound. Like, you know, what that sound is going to be, I don't know. You know, what the words are. You know, how easy they would flow. What would seem right. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Like, you know.
There's a lot of sadness around it. I suppose that was just the unknown and the not knowing.
The nothing is a blank space. It's just a blank space. It's nothing. It's just like, I don't know what way to explain it. It's just a no man's land. It's nothing.
For me, there's something about the connection. There's something turbulent in the wrenching. So I have kind of turbulent waters. I don't have still waters. I don't have kind of warm waters. I have turbulent, stormy. Because I do miss her.
What would you say? What's the first thing you'd say? Or, you know, like, as I said, I'd like to see, and I'd just like to be there. And that safety is just a stillness and a quietness. And to be able to almost instantly have that, like, with another person, you know, which is something you can't really have. Like, you know, you can't just, you know, meet somebody for the first time and just not say anything, you know.
Yeah, to have a closeness without even trying. Yeah.
To me, she was perfect. Like, you know, my natural father, like, he was the bad guy. Like, you know, would she want to connect with me? You know, that I suppose they're the kind of thoughts like that I can have at times. Like, you know. For me, it would be I had a want, you know, which, you know, different to last. Like, you know, I think when I was younger, I wanted something, you know, especially from my mother, like, you know, and, you know, whether this is selfish or not, you know, it's like today I don't have that want, like, you know, it's like
Like a yearning or
well,
or want to meet or just want.
just want, you know, want to I suppose, yeah, you know, when I was younger, it's like I wanted to be protected, like,
Yeah.
do you know, and I felt like that she was the person, to you know, that could do that. Like, you know, it's like today I suppose I don't need that, like, you know.
You don't need that protection.
Yeah, you know, it's like I can,
That's true, and I think that protection is an interesting word.
I would have had anger towards my father. I think, you know, I would have, when I was younger, like, I would have blamed him for the situation, like, you know, that the whole thing, like, you know, if obviously, you know, if they had been together, you know, they could have, you know, raised me, like, you know.
It is a fallacy, believe it or not. I mean, society sort of packages that way. I'm not saying that all natural fathers stayed around, but there were a lot did.
And not in the 70s, Brian, definitely not. You were rare, Brian.
Definitely so. I have reunited 5 natural fathers from the 70s.
My fella disappeared, anyway. You know, and made a big difference.
Everyone shouldn't get tarred with the same brush, sort of thing. You know,
I always had his feeling, you know, that it would be nice if we were, you know, reunited and could meet. We're always worried and worried about this mother out there, that was she okay, and you know, where was she, and
I think I have a lot of understanding, you know, her situation and so on, like, you know, the situation of you know, that time, like, you know, where to be, you know, pregnant outside of marriage, like, you know, was you know, was viewed upon as being, you know, incredibly negative, like, you know. My natural mother, she was, yeah, you know, in fantasy, she was the whatever, I suppose the perfect woman, the perfect mother.
You haven't checked out the fantasy, sure you haven't.
That's all it was, like, you know.
And what was it?
You know, what was it? It was, well, she was this beautiful woman, beautiful woman, and she was an actress or a singer on stage, and I used to wait for her at the side of the stage every night, and she just kind of come over and just kind of, whatever, you know, sweep me away kind of thing, like, you know, so that was the kind of fantasy, you know. But, yeah. And I suppose just listening to your experience, like, it's, you know, the parents, they know what they're going into, like, you know, but for my experience, like, I mean, you know, I heard the word adoptive, like, and I was like, geez, what is that? You know, so I mean, from a very young age, I was trying to figure out what that meant. You know, I knew it kind of meant that there was something different about me, like, you know.
I realised that there might be fierce struggle in bringing her up, because like the word illegitimate was out there, you know. You weren't illegitimate, as if you had no right to be born, you know, and that was kind of the society that we lived in at the time.
Because you're a secret, you know, that you're something to be. There's a shame attached, or it's not okay. That you maybe that I'm not okay. And secrets are very difficult. Yeah, I felt that it was the secret part was isolating, actually. Yeah, and it was a closed headspace for me. Not talking about being adopted and things.
It was just like we were so cut off. Like there's a book called The Primal Wound, and by a woman called Nancy Newton Ver, and she's an adopted parent, and like I really would have found it was a hard book to read, you know, because we're talking about, you know, the adoptee's primal wound there at birth, and it had no words, and there's something so true about that, like that cut off something so intrinsic, instinctive, like you wouldn't do it to animals. Their mind separating humans at such a day. We're lost or confused, or no wonder Brian, they go missing on us.
There's so many things we don't understand.
Absolutely, yeah.
Use the word the other side.
Yeah.
Let's call it the other side of the coin. You know, you say, well, why is such and such reacting like that? Well, you know, to walk a mile in their shoes to really know.
When I met up with her, it was hugely, there was something romantic about it at the beginning, and there was something, a real honeymoon stage, and huge euphoria and huge joy, you know. We met on a Thursday, and we met far away from agencies. The dance was of excitement, was huge. My general headspace was really all over the place, was just full of excitement and wanting to share. Like, this is my daughter that I hadn't met for so many years. And the city that we were both in was in Belfast. When I met her, like I was shaking, and I was tearful, and I hugged her and looked at her and stared at her, and you know, it was excitement and talking and finding out and asking questions, and what does she do, and what does she eat, and how was she brought up, and what does she look like, and what does she wear, and what was she interested in, and You know, I looked at her teeth, I looked at her hands, I looked at her physique, and I was able to express that love that she went with, like being in love or something.
When I searched and I found that they had married, I was, and when I met them, I was surprised. I suppose a bit, not a bit angry, but a bit hurt that they hadn't searched for me. Maybe, yeah, yeah. When I saw photos of the children, my sisters and brother, as they were growing up or in summer holidays and that kind of thing, you know, I suppose I felt that loss there. It's impossible, like, to get that.
You can't get that back. Then the joy wore off because, you know, for 4 years she pulled her way back, which brought up a lot more kind of anger, and it was more like anger at a missing of a relationship in the now, you know. We have a responsibility. We can't reject a second time, and I don't like when information is withheld, whether it is, like, you know, the name of the birth father or the name of the you know, if they're brothers or sisters, can they be told? I think that's really, and I don't, you know, from the law in our country, you know, like, adoptees have no right to access their information, their birth certs, you know, their original birth certs, and you owed to look into, to look at the eyes of into the people, to gaze in, like you discovered, Leisure, that when you went to look, you looked very like her, the similarities, you know. I discovered that we had height similarities, and just to see that really grounded me, you know, and just helped me to, gosh, it did happen, you know, and that she is in my life.
I suppose I had expectations that we'd all be closer, but
See, what's lost you can't get back.
no.
It's like you have to kind of start with what you have
Now, yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
like as we were saying outside, both of us are about 11 years,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know, and it's different now to what it was
Yeah, at the start, yeah.
at the start, you know.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And when I met him, happy, and very relieved to find out, and you know, that he was brought up extremely well and by outstanding people. You know, it was one of the highlights of my life. We had a couple of pints together. I didn't hold anything back. I told him everything as it was.
Since I've met my birth parents and grown up in that life, what would have been different? How you've been different in myself? The ghost life, yeah. What could have been? Not that I would have changed anything from the life I grew up in, because that's what I knew. I've always loved her. I've always thought of her. I thought about her. You know, from the moment I found out I was adopted.
And she went with a massive love. But the society that we lived in at the time was a very cruel society. And it was a society that expected women like me to part with our soul and our psychic to make other women happy, and to lose my baby.
To be honest, I was enraged because I'd lost 27 years. You can't get it back.